Have you ever had that gut feeling, deep in your chest, that something just isn't right? That the person sleeping beside you is hiding something? Well, I had that feeling. And it turned out my wife wasn't just lying. She was building her second life behind my back. But when I found out who she was sneaking off to see, I didn't just expose her. I took them both down in a way they never saw coming. If you've ever dreamed of serving cold, calculated justice to someone who betrayed your trust, hit that like button. Subscribe if you believe karma always finds its way back, because this story, it delivers. Way back in the early 2000s, life was simpler, or at least I thought it was. My wife and I had been married for 7 years. We had 2 kids, 4 and 6. Every night, I'd come home from work, step over the tiny shoes at the door, and hear the laughter echoing through our little house. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Then the small things began. Missed calls, sudden errands, days when she claimed she was visiting her parents, who live an hour and a half away, 2 or 3 times a week. At first, I brushed it off. Her parents loved the kids, and I wanted to believe she was just getting some help with them. But that unease wouldn't leave me. The kids, innocent as they were, started saying things like, "We saw Grandma's house again today," or "Mommy went out after lunch." And that's when it hit me. Something wasn't adding up. I tried asking her casually one night, pretending not to care too much. "So, you've been going to your parents a lot lately?" She smiled, that tight, polite smile that people use when they're lying through their teeth. Yeah, they miss the kids. But my gut was screaming otherwise. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I started tracking the mileage on her car. Just a quick glance at the odometer every few days, scribbled down in my work notebook. Within a week, it was clear she was driving hundreds of extra miles. 400 miles more than usual. That's when the denial ended. Something was going on, and I needed to know what. A few weeks later, fate handed me a gift, an ugly one, but a gift nonetheless. I sat down at the computer one morning, and there it was, a sticky note by the keyboard. Her AOL password, written plain as day. My heart was racing. My hands shook as I typed it in. I knew this was a line I couldn't uncross. And there it was, email after email between her and her best friend from college. In them, she bragged about meeting up with her high school ex. I remember one line so clearly it made my stomach twist. "It's crazy how easy it is. He still makes me laugh. And his wife totally let herself go after the kids." I just sat there, staring. The house was silent. The clock ticked behind me. But all I could hear was that one sentence. The woman I thought I knew was mocking another woman, while doing the same thing behind my back. So I printed every single email, page after page. Proof. I needed facts. Cold, hard proof. I called an old friend who was a police officer. He put me in touch with a private investigator, Ron. A quiet guy, no nonsense, ex-cop. I paid his retainer, handed him the emails, and waited. Those 2 weeks were agony. Every time my wife smiled, every kiss goodnight, it felt like theater. I even started to feel guilty, wondering if I was overreacting. But when Ron called, his voice was calm, steady, and final. Yeah, she's seeing him. His report was meticulous, times, dates, photos. She'd drop the kids off at her parents', meet this guy for lunch, then sneak off to a cheap roadside motel. After a few hours, she'd pick up the kids and drive home like nothing happened. I stared at those photos for hours. My wife, my children's mother, walking hand in hand with another man. That night, something inside me broke, but another part of me woke up, the part that wasn't going to be humiliated. I called my lawyer the next morning, told him I wanted a divorce. No shouting, no begging for explanations, just facts. I'd grown up watching my own parents tear each other apart through affairs, and I swore I'd never do that to my kids. But I wasn't done yet. Ron had found something else, something that changed everything. Her lover's name was Bob, married, 3 kids, vice president of sales at his father-in-law's company, a family business. That's when I realized he wasn't just cheating on me, He was cheating on his entire life. I had a plan. Simple, precise, ruthless. I asked my lawyer to prepare the divorce papers. Meanwhile, I called Ron again. Told him I needed one more thing. Copies of everything he'd found. Photos, reports, timelines, all of it. I was ready to pull the trigger. The day came. Ron and I coordinated down to the minute. At 11 a.m., my wife was at work, sitting at her desk, probably sipping coffee, pretending she was a perfect suburban mom. That's when the process server walked in and handed her the envelope. The look on her face, I'm told, was priceless. But that wasn't the main event. At 11:15, just 15 minutes later, Ron was sitting in a quiet cafe across town. Opposite him was Bob's wife. Ron showed her everything. The photos, the times, the emails. The truth. He told me later she didn't cry. She just sat there, stunned, her face drained of color. Then, without a word, she gathered the papers and walked out. That was the moment everything began to unravel. For both of them. My divorce went smoothly. I kept it clean, focused on the kids. My lawyer said the infidelity didn't hold much legal weight, but emotionally, it meant everything. But for Bob, his entire world collapsed. Within days, his wife emptied their joint account, took the kids, and went straight to her father's house. When her father, Bob's boss, found out what he'd done, he fired him on the spot. And since the family owned the house Bob and his wife lived in, he was evicted too. No job, no home, no family, just a man left with his own wreckage. The story didn't end there. Their divorce got ugly, court battles, restraining orders, even police reports. Apparently, Bob tried to confront his wife one night and got into a fight with her brother. The brother broke his nose. After that, Bob disappeared from the records, packed up and left the state, probably running from everything he destroyed. Meanwhile, his ex-wife rebuilt her life, started working at her dad's company, eventually took over when he retired. Karma has a sharp memory. As for me, I survived. My kids were young, and I shielded them from as much as I could. My ex-wife and I co-parented without hostility, but I never let her back into my emotional space again. Once the kids grew up, I cut contact altogether. I don't hate her. Hate takes energy, and she doesn't deserve mine. But every so often, when I think back to that moment, Ron handed me those photos or my wife being served at work, I feel a quiet satisfaction, not joy, just closure, because in the end, she lost something more valuable than her marriage. She lost the chance to ever look me in the eyes and see respect again. It wasn't about screaming or public humiliation. It wasn't about revenge porn or social media. It was about truth, cold, undeniable truth, delivered to the right people at the right time. In one afternoon, I ended a lie that had stretched for months. I exposed two people who thought they were clever enough to fool everyone, and watching their carefully crafted lives collapse, without me ever raising my voice, was the sweetest revenge I could have asked for. Sometimes, justice doesn't need a courtroom or a fight. It just needs the truth to find its way home. You know, people always say that revenge doesn't fix anything. Maybe that's true, but closure, knowing that the person who hurt you finally faced consequences, that can heal wounds you didn't even know were still open. If this story hit you right in the gut, smash that like button. And tell me in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? Don't forget to subscribe for more stories where karma finally catches up. Because sometimes justice just needs a little push.